Flexibility, that's our topic here for Lesson 8, our latest component of fitness that we're going to discuss. And already many of you noticed that you tend to be fairly flexible, or you tend not to be. Wherever you stand, it is something that is very important for your lifetime. So when we define flexibility, this is a reminder, because you've seen this before, it's speaking to the ability to move a joint through its full range of motion. And its full range of motion, you can see right there in the elbow. If you're to bend your elbow, and you're as much as you could bend with your hand going towards your shoulder, and then as much as you could extend, that is the range that the joint can move. It's very common that when you get some sort of injury, like in particular an ankle sprain, or you injure your knee, that you're going to lose that range of motion. And they may use a tool like what you see right there that a doctor's using, or a PT is using, to tell you where your range of motion is and to kind of measure along the way as you improve. What do you gain from flexibility activities? Well, increased mobility. So having good flexibility is going to help you, especially in a lot of athletic sort of activities. As you increase that level of flexibility, it ends up lubricating that joint. It increases the circulation, and it is important, especially post-exercise, to follow up with some flexibility activity so it will heal your body and help you recover from that activity. Yet, you don't want to just start with the flexibility stuff. You want to do some sort of warm-up. And remember, we talked about this, that the muscle temperature should be up to 103 degrees, and then it's more of a safe point to do flexibility activities. So we have two different types that are most common around exercise. Usually prior to exercising, you're going to do something that's dynamic, and dynamic means within action. And usually a coach or a leader of an activity will figure out what really needs to be flexible and what are those different flexibility activities that lead up to the actual performance you're about to do. And post-exercise, you try to do more of the static stretching, and that's where you go to that point of stretch and you just hold it there for 15 to 30 seconds. So the dynamic flexibility tends to help us get ready for the activity, and then the post-activity static stretching tends to help us recover, and actually that's when you get your biggest improvement in flexibility. And so we have all these soft tissues that we're trying to gain flexibility in. We have our muscles, our tendons, and the ligaments. And as you move a joint, that muscle will shorten, and then, or as you bend it, and then as you extend it, the muscle lengthens. So when it becomes really intense, it can have quite an impact on those muscles, whether it tightens them up or whether it necessitates even a greater flexibility in that joint. And all through those tissues, you have a lot of veins and arteries with blood traveling through that, so warming that up and bringing you the oxygen and those nutrients. And so those connective tissues have some limited flexibility, yet it's really important that you warm up so you're not injured. And so you can see those tendons, they connect the bone to the muscle, and the most common tendon that we think about is the Achilles tendon. And you can imagine how that Achilles tendon connects into the bone in the heel and then up into those calf muscles. And then the ligaments connect bone to bone, and probably the ligament we're most familiar with hearing about is the ACL, and how sometimes that is injured, in particular with a quick twisting action in the knee. The muscle fascia, you can almost imagine it looks like a cellophane over the top of the muscle and inside the skin, and that cellophane surrounds the muscle, and it kind of just gives it a little support, but it can get aggravated, especially after a hard workout or when you're first getting in shape. And so that's why you're seeing so many people who are using foam rollers. They're trying to just roll out that muscle fascia and trying to take some of that sensitivity away. When you use a foam roller, at first it can be pretty sore, but it has a huge healing benefit and it really can work out what feels like knots in that muscle or the fascia. Well, especially around our Boulder Valley here, yoga has become a very common way that people work on their flexibility. And the emphasis is a lot on lengthening muscles, and as you lengthen, that the blood flow increases and brings all these healthy nutrients to those muscles and to those joints. And the nice thing about yoga is there's such an emphasis on individualizing it and not worrying too much about how you compare. It can be a really healthy pastime for you, especially complementary to so many other activities. So the FIT principle, we're back to that. How frequently you should work on flexibility things. Well, almost every day, even if you don't have a hard workout. If you can do a little bit of flexibility, it's very, very good for your body in maintaining that balance in the muscles. The intensity, you want to push to a point of stretch, but not to pain. You can get to where you push too far in your flexibility and injure a muscle. The amount of time is really dependent on kind of what your intent is. Maybe, especially post-workout, you might be 10 or 15 minutes of doing some static stretching. But if you're in a yoga class, you can easily be up to an hour or even beyond. And so the type, you would use it both in warm-up, mostly towards dynamic sort of things, and in your cool-down as a static sort of activity. Bruce Lee's quote, "Notice that the stiffest tree is most easily cracked, while the bamboo or willow survives by bending with the wind." So kind of emphasizing that ability to move and bend and be flexible. And you're familiar with this guy from Maroon 5, Adam Levine, and again, we're highlighting different people and how they use flexibility. And he sets up a yoga room backstage and uses it as a way pre-concert. And his comment, "Yoga takes what you have and molds and sculpts it, which is a much more natural way to look and feel." Go ahead and follow up with the activity in Schoology.